So let's get into some quarterback draft grades, right? Again, we had a ton of teams take quarterbacks, first round, second round, third round, fourth round. I think we have a few grades here about, again, the fit, where they took them, and going forward if it's a good fit for the team or not. So the Bengals, I always say take Joe Burrow. To me, it's an A. No-brainer, easy. My only complaint, and why honestly it's not an A+, is that they waited 10 minutes to put the pick in. They were on the clock since January 1st when the season ended. They knew they were taking Joe Burrow. Don't even put them on the clock. Just say what the Bengals are doing. If the team wanted to trade up, they were going to do it. They would have made an offer already. And apparently, if you read reports, the Dolphins have tried multiple times to trade up, and the Bengals rejected it. So it didn't seem like they were moving no matter what. And Joe Burrow was their guy. Just take the pick. But I do love it. I think he's actually going to be really good in Cincinnati. And you pair him with T. Higgins, who they drafted in the second round, with A.J. Green, if he can stay healthy, with Joe Mixon at running back. I think the Bengals sneakily, could have a decent offense and maybe be a scrappy team similar to what the Cardinals were last year. We'll see, but I do like Joe Burrow and his fit in Cincinnati. Give Cincinnati an A there for that draft pick. The Dolphins took Tua Tagovailoa, which I heard on the show the last few weeks I was against. I would give this a B- because, one, I'm just not sold on his health. I'm really not. I'm sorry. The injuries scare me. In 2 years as a starter, having all those injuries behind a pristine offensive line in college does get me worried that he won't be durable and won't be able to be on the field enough to make the pick worth it. Now, I understand they drafted 3 offensive linemen. The Dolphins did later on in the draft. I thought they reached a little bit with Austin Jackson at 18. So that gets me worried that, you're going to try to basically build an offensive line on the fly. They signed Ted Karras from New England as the center, but he's going to be a 1 or 2 year stopgap. So you still have to find a long-term center. You have Eric Flowers, who they signed coming off of a pretty good year in Washington, to be their guard. Do I trust Eric Flowers in the long run to protect Tua Tagovailoa? I do not. I have questions there. So I think the Dolphins did a good job at least realizing they need all the help they can get in protecting Tua Tagovailoa and did that and put draft capital towards offensive line. I'm skeptical and worried that if you're still trying to form an offensive line or trying to, create an offensive line on the fly as Tua is playing, I get nervous. And again, even if you find it, you had a great offensive line in Alabama. They finished runner-up both times, or I should say as a finalist, both times, for the Joe Moore Award, which is given to the best college offensive line in college football. So Tua had a great offensive line in both years at Alabama and still got hurt. So I'm worried that he will not be able to stay healthy, and that draft pick will ultimately be for naught in Miami. B-. The talent is there. And talent's absolutely, there's no doubting Tua should have been talent-wise a quarterback. I worry about his health, and again, I'm not sold that he can be the guy going forward and stay healthy enough to be on the field. So I give a B- to the Dolphins. I'll give a B- to the Chargers, and here's why. A lot of people were down on Justin Herbert. They don't think he can read the field. There's questions about, how good can he be? What is his ceiling? At Oregon, he played 4 years. I understand there's a lot of changing with offensive coaches and head coaches, so maybe that kind of stunted his growth a little bit. But at least the Chargers have everything that Herbert needs to succeed. This is not a Tua situation where the offensive line is spotty, the receivers are spotty, the run game was non-existent last year. They drafted some running backs, but essentially the offense is starting from scratch in Miami. The Chargers, I feel like on the complete opposite end, have everything for the most part in place for Justin Herbert to be successful. They have solid receivers. They have Keenan Allen. You have Mike Williams. They have a solid tight end in Hunter Henry. The offensive line they traded for guard Trey Turner, who's very solid. And tackles could use a little work, but for the most part, the offensive line, especially on the interior, is set. Playmaking options they have. Austin Eckler they re-signed. So there's really not the excuse to struggle like a Tua could have, like a Joe Burrow could have, because the cast isn't around them. So I think it's a B- because I think the Chargers, again, have everything surrounding Justin Herbert to be the guy. And I'll take into the count, too, Chargers have to sell tickets, which is why I thought Cam Newton would be a good fit and why I thought if the Dolphins pass on Tua, the Chargers should absolutely draft Tua. They need someone to rally around and be the face of their franchise. Justin Herbert is going to be that. So I think from that perspective as well, part of the pick is giving a reason for fans to come to the game and pointing a light. Like, this is our guy. This is what you could look forward to. So I think I gave a B- as well to the Chargers because I like the pick. Justin Herbert's ceiling is definitely a question mark for sure. There were some questionable games at Oregon where, he made more plays with his legs than with his arm, and depending on who you ask and what you read, that's almost a negative because they didn't trust him to throw with his arm. But Chargers, again, B- for that. Packers drafting Jordan Love, trading up to get Jordan Love, I think is a D. Personally, I think it's D. Now, I'll say this. For Jordan Love himself and Jordan Love the player, this is great. He was a project. He was a wild card. He's a guy who needs to sit behind an established starter for a year or 2 or 3, learn the NFL, learn how to be a quarterback, learn how to read defenses, basically learn the game from the sidelines, and then from there go in and try to execute. If you threw him into the fire day one, to where if the Chargers, the Dolphins, anyone who needs a quarterback, and you're drafting Jordan Love to be the guy day one, I think you're in trouble. So from the philosophy and perspective of we're going to draft Jordan Love to sit behind him for a year or 2, I think it's smart. Now, if a team like the Colts did it, who have Philip Rivers for a year or 2, that's smart. The Packers, that's not smart. Aaron Rodgers, again, I still think he's playing well, and he's indicated he wants to play for 4, 5, 6 years. He's not going anywhere. So the best case scenario for the Packers, absolute best case, is that Jordan Love is on the field in year 3, which means you have that year, his rookie year per se, despite him being in the league 3 years, you have that one season to realize, are we going to get this guy a 5th-year option? And then all of a sudden now you have to start thinking long-term, what is the contract going to look like? And can he be our guy? Because guess what? If you strike out, if you force Aaron Rodgers out and he goes elsewhere and still plays well, still helps the team win a Super Bowl, or be a Super Bowl contender, let's say, and now all of a sudden you are floundering with Jordan Love and maybe you're thinking about drafting his replacement or don't bring him back, you are in trouble. You are what the Bears are. Think about the Bears with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. Not Matt Nagy's in trouble, but Ryan Pace is definitely on the hot seat because he drafted Mitchell Trubisky, traded up to do so, and didn't get a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. Now, they didn't force an incumbent starter out, so that's one thing, but they're not going to give Mitchell Trubisky a 5th-year option, and basically they're already looking for replacements and bringing in Nick Foles. So they're basically already bailing on their quarterback, and you see what happens when you miss how it sets your franchise back. Again, this a D for the Packers because outside of Jordan Love being able to sit behind Aaron Rodgers and learn, there's not much there that I think is going to go well for the Packers, and I don't like their philosophy at all. The Eagles maybe, you can question the Packers for, I think that was a shock. Equally as shocking, maybe just below it, the Eagles drafting Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round. The only quarterback to go on day 2 in rounds 2 and 3 was Jalen Hurts going to the Eagles. I have this as an F. I think it's a complete fail on many levels, and here's why. 1, you have Carson Wentz who's injury prone. You want to get a security blanket? Fine. You had Nate Sudfeld. He wants to go elsewhere. He wants to compete for a starting job. Fine. You don't pay Nick Foles the money that he got in the open market that Jacksonville paid him, $88 million to back up Carson Wentz. Fine. And I understand the Eagles' frustration that basically their backup quarterback situation has been a rotating door for a few years. And when you have a quarterback with injury concerns, you at least have a guy that's back there that knows the offense, knows what he's doing, and will at least give you a chance if he goes down. We saw Josh McCown basically gave the Eagles no shot when Carson Wentz went down in the playoff game, and McCown could not get that offense rolling at all. So I understand the Eagles wanting someone there and maybe draft someone young so he'll be there for 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. To where there's at least some familiarity and a solid security blanket, God forbid if Carson Wentz gets hurt, which we know he's done. But the reason why this makes no sense on many levels is because, one, you don't draft a backup quarterback in the 2nd round with a team that is playoff caliber and Super Bowl caliber. They had glaring needs. They addressed the wide receiver position. They needed a cornerback. I understand they got Darius Slay. They needed someone opposite him. They needed secondary help. They didn't do that at all throughout the draft, let alone in the 2nd round when he had a chance to do so. And not to mention, Jalen Hurts, the player, I don't get the infatuation and the love of Jalen Hurts, the NFL quarterback. He had great numbers at Oklahoma. I get it. He steps in as a true freshman in Alabama, leads him to the national title game. They lose to Clemson. And for the first 2 years, he was great, steps in, and he leads Alabama to the national title game in his first 2 years as a starter. Obviously, we know he gets replaced by 2 at halftime, and they win the national title game. But he at least was a winner on the field. He's a great leader. You hear about what a great locker room guy is. You know what Jalen Hurts on the field is as a quarterback? His team, he is Tim Tebow 2.0. This is what I mean by that. He's a one-read quarterback. You create a route. He looks at one guy. If he's covered, he's running. Look at Oklahoma. There's a guy in a wide-open Lincoln Riley offense who rarely read the field, maybe sometimes went to his second option. And if he's not there, he's already tucking the ball and ready to run. They asked him to run the ball a lot last year. I understand Lincoln Riley was playing to the strengths of Jalen Hurts, who's a powerful, deceptively fast runner. But let's not fool ourselves here. He's not beating you with your arm. So if Carson Wentz, let's say, does go down in week 5, week 10, week 13, and you need Jalen Hurts to come in for 2, 3, 4 games and win you a few games that are important, I don't trust Jalen Hurts that he's going to come in and do that. I don't trust that he can read NFL defenses. I don't trust that he has the anticipation to read and know who's going to be open and know what the defense is doing. I don't trust he has the accuracy to hit the receiver in stride. I don't trust any of that. So where is the role that he fits, or what is the football skills that you're looking at where you say, if Carson Wentz goes down at week 2, week 5, week 10 of Jalen Hurts' rookie year, can he step in and win us a few games? I don't see how that's a yes. I really don't. I understand he got to the playoff with Oklahoma, but again, I think that's more of a wide-open Lincoln Riley offense that schemed everyone open. It's harder to do in the NFL for sure, and I don't trust that Jalen Hurts has the anticipation and be able to read defenses to where he can effectively manipulate defenders with his eyes and go to his second, third, even fourth option to create a play and keep moving the chains. Not to mention, there's all this talk about Jalen, the Taysom Hill 2.0. He's going to fill the Taysom Hill role. He's going to line up in the backfield. He's going to line up a receiver. Taysom Hill, first of all, was undrafted, and he kind of found that role. Sean Payton realized what his skill set was and built that role specifically for him. You're trying to put a square peg in a round hole with Jalen Hurts drafted him in the second round to fill that same exact need. If that's what the Eagles, Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman saw in Jalen Hurts, and that's what they want. If they want their own Taysom Hill, you don't draft him in the second round to do that, to be a gadget guy, to have him on the field 10, 12, 15 snaps. Because guess what? On top of lining up at a wildcat quarterback, running back, wide receiver, you know what else Taysom Hill does? He's on punt coverage. He's on kickoff coverage. That guy does a lot of special teams work because you know why? He's undrafted. He's cheap labor. You're not putting Jalen Hurts on the punt coverage team. You're not putting Jalen Hurts on kickoff coverage or kickoff return coverage and have him block somebody. I don't get the role that the Eagles think Jalen Hurts can fill. And not to mention, I don't think he's quick enough to be, a receiver or a slot back. He is powerful to be a running back, but Taysom Hill gets more by with his speed and versatility and his quickness. Jalen Hurts really doesn't have that. He's not fast. He's not a blazer. I just have a lot of questions about what the Eagles are doing and the fit that they think he can fit into their offense. I understand, again, he's a great leader, and you want someone that could support Carson Wentz. What you saw as a backup at Alabama, he waited his time, he supported Tua. And when they needed him most in the SEC title game, he bailed at Alabama for sure. So maybe the Eagles saw that and realized this is our guy going forward. I don't trust that that Jalen Hurts can be that guy going forward and step in and be a competent NFL quarterback for 2, 3, or 4 games every year if Carson Wentz goes down. You want to do that, go Jake Fromm, who everyone projects as a backup and a safe guy. Go safe. Don't get a project they're going to have to develop, and then all of a sudden, his rookie year, expect him to throw him in there and win you some games. I don't see it. F for the Eagles in drafting Jalen Hurts. Colts on day 3 in the 4th round drafted Jacob Eason. I'd say it's a C+. Because my thing with Jacob Eason is he has a huge arm. And obviously, you can't teach that. Cannon and a rifle for a right arm. And with Frank Reich, he likes to throw the ball deep. And the frustration for the Colts this year in watching Jacoby Brissett at quarterback was that he didn't take chances. He didn't push the ball down the field. A lot of checkdowns, a lot of safe throws, underneath throws, and Frank Reich wants to push teams vertically. They drafted Paris Campbell, a burner out of Ohio State last year. When he was on the field, he wants to stretch defenses. T.Y. Hilton is a receiver that stretches defenses and gets a lot of deep balls. The Colts want to throw the ball deep. So I understand you have a big arm guy in Jacob Eason who can make those throws. But to me, I don't see much else that he brings to the table. Now, it's a low-risk game in the 4th round. He might not even make the team. You hear Chris Ballard say that he's got to make the team first. And we'll see if Chris Ballard just, saying this now and speaking tougher than he means it. But, he said there's a legitimate chance that he's a 3rd or 4th quarterback and might not even make the roster.